Hi guys. Ooh. Ooh. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Penny, and please check out my last videos. I really appreciate all the support I got on my last video of me introducing myself, and it really motivates me to make more content. I know it's been a few weeks, and I'll try to upload more and make time to make you guys videos, but my school week is very busy, so no promises. I did ask you guys what you wanted me to post for my next video, and I did actually get some answers. First one says, 15-year-old male and super into art. You should say what sparked your interest in art. The next one says, I'd love it if you could give a simple tutorial on how you render your drawings because I'm trying to get into digital art, but I don't know where to start. I'm going to try and combine these into this video, so while I draw, I'll talk about how I got started with art. Please like and subscribe if you can, it really helps. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first, I'll start with what brushes I use. I use a lot of different brushes, but for now, I'll just show you guys three. And I'll just use three in this drawing. So the first one I use for sketch, which is a mechanical pencil number 2. And then I use the ink pen for line art and this one in Korea that I found on the internet for my coloring and rendering. There's not really much to say about how I shade, but I would like to start with, I like to shade underneath the eyes of all the characters that I draw. Some of the shading underneath the eyes will be more prominent than others because like maybe the character will be like really overworked or really tired or something. Meanwhile, this character is not. She's actually very happy, very energetic kind of personality. She's very competitive. I actually have not come up with a name for her yet. So if you guys have any names in the comments, I would love to hear. For shading, I would just say shade all the parts that obviously need to be shaded, like underneath the head or like underneath the strands of hair that might come in their faces or underneath their nose, collarbone, folds in the clothing, obvious places like that. I also want to say it's very important to know where the light is coming from in your drawing. So for me, the light is like pointing straight down on her. So I would kind of want the shadows to look kind of harsh. So I won't do too much blurring, but I will blur it. For shading on the lips, I did a base color of, it's kind of like umber, reddish brown color, and then on top of it I did the lighter version of that color and blurred it on another layer, and then I did a very, very light color, which would be your highlight, and kind of drew in the highlights on the bottom lip and the top lip as well, and then I turned down the opacity a bit to see how it would fit, and I just did a little bit of touch up here and there. For the shading, I just took a really dark color and I went around the edges of the lip, around the bottom, and I kind of blurred it out at the top so it can give it a little bit of depth. And then I went over it again and did a few more layers just so it can look a little darker around some edges. I did the same thing with the top lip and adjusted the opacity to my liking. So I guess now's a good time to talk about how I got into art. I remember I started drawing around the age of 2. That's when I remember first drawing. And ever since then, I've loved to draw. I've always loved art. And I'm actually a self-taught artist. So I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of different places. And there was a phase where I did not have one art style, but I think that's normal for every artist. And I have come such a long way because in the beginning, my art was terrible, man. But I have come a long, long way. Like lots and lots and lots of practice. And I know you might have heard before, well, it's not always practice. There's easier ways to improve your art style. That was not the way for me. I had to practice. I had to draw every day for me to actually get the motivation to keep drawing. because if I didn't draw for like up to a week, then yeah, my motivation would probably be gone for the rest of that month. And I'd eventually come back to my sketchbook and be like, oh yeah, I remember this sketchbook. Oh, I need to fill it. Because I would see a sketchbook in like Michael's or something, and I would be like, ooh, that sketchbook's really pretty. And then I would remember, oh, I'm not done with my other sketchbook. I need to finish that sketchbook. And so I would go back and finally finish that sketchbook. But anyways, yeah, it takes a lot of practice to really get good at art. I mean, I wouldn't say you have to practice every day like I did when I was a beginner, but I would say practice very often and try and study other art styles and just get lots of inspiration from lots of different places so that you can have a little bit of everything in your art style. And it can be unique and different. For the lighting on this drawing, I tried to make it come from every angle. I mean, it doesn't really work that well. I mean, I tried. I especially had trouble with the nose because I didn't really know. At first, I didn't really know where I wanted the light to come from. So, for now, it looks a little interesting. But I just took a lighter color than the skin, and I set it to add, the blending mode to add, and I just blurred it around the edges where I needed to. Also, another tip if you are a beginner artist, digital or traditional, you don't need expensive materials to be good at art. I see it a lot, and my friends, for example, have always been wanting to just like teach me how to draw. Like, I want to start drawing. I want to start being an artist. Where do I start? And they always jump to the conclusion, oh, I bought these really cool markers on Amazon. I bought this here and I bought this there. And I was like, well, you don't have to buy really expensive things. You don't have to buy a whole bunch of new supplies to be good at art. And they're all like, well, that's what I see the professionals doing, so it must be right. And I always say, no, you don't have to. And I always tell them that there's other ways that you can do that. And that is, by practice. And you can also just use what you have at home and try to make use of what you have at home and try something different. Try and find a new way to use those colored pencils that you have. Or find a new way to use those kneaded erasers that you have. Because I found a cool way to use kneaded erasers. And I don't use them anymore because they're kind of sticky. And that's not the point. The point is you should utilize what you have instead of trying to buy new things all the time. For the eyes, I don't really have much to say about the eyes because I did a lot of changing on the eyes. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I couldn't settle on a design or like a style for the eyes. But I don't really have a set way that I draw eyes digitally. It differs from every character. For this one, I just wanted it to be kind of simple because the eyes weren't the main focus of the drawing. But in another piece that I'll put on the screen, the eyes were the main point of the drawing. And I really wanted to draw attention to it, so I put a lot of detail in there. But yeah, don't really pay attention to how I drew the eyes here, because that's not the point. And it looks a little weird, and I didn't even focus on that. I didn't even pick that as my final decision, So for a little update for the people that did watch my last video, I did make the soccer team, and we have a scrimmage against a private school tomorrow, which I'm so excited about. I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited too. So I really hope we do well on that. And then our very first game is on March 2nd. I have my jersey, and I think we're going to get our schedule for all the games pretty soon, but I'm hoping that we get it soon so that our parents and stuff can know when all the events are. Some of my favorite artists that got me into art are YouTubers and a lot of different artists on Pinterest whose names I forgot, probably wrote down somewhere but forgot. But the main artists on YouTube that I really like are Emma Artley, Josta, Goop Scully, Razaria, Julie B, Sailor, Kelsey, Viara, Alvarin, Blueberry, UME Art, Just Me Art, and a whole lot more that I cannot think of right now. I really recommend you go and follow their channels because they have been so much inspiration to me and still are, and I love watching their content and they really help me and motivate me to do art every day. So for the hair, I start with the base color and do a lot of shading around the edges of a strand or like around the ends of the strands. I don't know, just to make the brighter parts of the strand or hair part pop. And I also do, for lighting, I also do a lot like really bold lighting on where the light is directly hitting their face or their head. So in this case, the light is pointing straight down on her head. So the lighting is going to be like very, very bold and very, very bright right at the top. And then as you look down the rest of the picture, it's going to get like a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, because the light dims and dims and dims the farther away from the source it gets. But other than that little detail, I don't know, there's not really much to say about the hair. I don't really know what else to say about the hair. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to explain how I render hair, but you can just watch the speed paint and see. I will say, when I started digital art, it actually didn't start digital art very long ago, maybe around 2020 or 2021. Yeah, I didn't start it very long ago, but when I did first start, I was so confused. I had no idea what the point of a layer even was. I was like, since I had been a traditional artist all my life, and I still am a traditional artist, but I was like, what's the point of layers when you can just use one? And I was using one layer the whole time, and then I slowly realized, oh no, you actually need to use these layers because they're really helpful. And digital art, I will say, is a lot easier than traditional art because you get so many different tries to do things, and there's so many different filters, and you can just really just restart your whole canvas without seeing eraser marks or leftover pencil markings of your previous drawing before you erased. One problem I do have with digital art is that it can be so risky sometimes depending on what application you use, and it can just disappear. One time I had art disappear in Ibis Paint before. It just glitched out and it was just gone. And man, was I distraught because I had been working forever on that piece. When you're working on traditional art, yeah, you can lose the art, but if you leave it on your desk all week, reminding you to come back and work on it, it can't really just delete itself out of existence. For my next video, I'm thinking about doing like a list of things that you can do with your OCs, or I might do another OC Yap session because I really, really want to share my OCs with you guys, and I think it would be really cool to see what you guys think about them. And I have so many OCs, and I would love to share them with you also. If I could do that next video, I would love to. But let's hope that I have time because I don't really have an upload schedule right now. I'm really trying to get on an upload schedule, but I've been so busy. And yeah, I do my best, but yeah, this is what y'all got for now. But seriously though, I'll try to do better. And I'm gonna try and get myself an upload schedule and actually make time to voice over my videos or create footage for my videos. And I really just hope that you guys enjoy. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate you guys, because it's always been a dream of mine to share my art with you guys and the world and try and get into YouTube because it's so intimidating to start YouTube, honestly. But yeah. So towards the end, I kind of ran out of screen recording footage because the storage on my iPad ran out. But I use Ibis Paint, speed paint footage instead. So I hope that kind of explains what's going on. I hope it still explains what's going on. But yeah, I think that the finished piece turned out really nicely. And I hope that you guys got information from this and actually learned something. So yeah, you guys, that's the end of the video. I am so glad that if you stick to the end, thank you so much for sticking to the end and watching this entire video. And I really hope that you guys learned something from this. This is just how I draw. I'm not really giving any professional advice, because I'm not a professional. But if you do take my advice, I would like that. And I hope that you guys also have your own learning experiences, so you all can learn for yourself what the best ways are for you to become and improve as an artist. Thank you so much for watching and staying to the end. Please like and subscribe if you can. I would really appreciate it, and it really helps me. Please have a good day or night, and thanks again for watching, everyone. I really appreciate all of you. Bye!